Welcome back. This is episode number 334 of the Healthy Diabetic Podcast and number 5 of our live show. I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest today. I am by myself with Kelly Schmidt. Graham is not with us today because it is Graham's birthday this weekend on Sunday, March 1st. It is Graham's birthday. So everyone make sure that you give him a special high five, a special air five, whatever you want to do. Keep him in your thoughts. He's turning 40 this weekend. So excited for Graham. But yeah, it's just me this weekend or this week for this episode with Kelly. Kelly Schmidt is a fan favorite. She's one of my favorite guests that we've had on. We've had her multiple times on the podcast. And we're talking about hormones. We're talking about male hormones. We're talking about a lot of cool stuff. So I'm really excited for you guys to listen to this one. So without further ado, let's get with my good friend, Kelly Schmidt. Thanks for coming on, Kel. This is going to be great. I'm excited about this. I finally got Kelly back on the new live show. And it actually doesn't say that we're live. It's not.
Mine does show live.
Does it say live? Mine's not saying live. But okay, well, if yours says live, hopefully we are live, people. If not, then this will just come out as a normal recording. It's fine. Thanks again, Kel. This is going to be great. I'm really excited to talk about this topic because we just don't get to talk about this topic very often.
Yeah.
Hormones. We were talking before we pressed record about I feel like there's a lot of female, I would consider maybe experts talking about female hormones right now in social media. Dietitians like yourself, doctors, people are trying to get more information about female hormones, but there's not a lot of research out there for females in that space. But I feel like there's a lot of research for guys in that space, but not a lot of people are talking about the guys. But so it's kind of like this crazy, whirlwind of that we live in with this information. So I'm glad that my hormonal expert is on talking to all of us about male hormones, and we'll talk about some other stuff too. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we were talking and I was like, let's talk about hormones. I'm doing all this stuff I actually recorded a masterclass today on T1D and hormones through the lifespan from puberty to birth control, peri, post, menopause, and also low testosterone, male and female. And you're like, yeah, let's talk about intimacy. My daughter's like, you're going to talk about sex? I was like, okay. We'll talk about it all. We're going to talk about everything.
We're going to talk about it all. Why not? We'll talk about it. Yeah. Well, it's funny because we were talking about the other day and I was like trying to see if you were available to come on today. In my brain, when you said male hormones, I was thinking, okay, cool. We'll talk about intimacy. We'll talk about sex hormones. This will be great.
I was like, oh, it's so funny. Because I was like, I got to get off the call in 30 seconds. And I gave you, let's talk about hormones, and then how you interpret it is really funny. And I think the thing is, when we say something, even to the listeners here, make sure you hear things a few times to really understand, because you could land in the wrong land when we're saying something. But yeah, I think no matter what, if we talk about testosterone, sex drive is first thing people think about. Yes. But I actually want to go much deeper and broader on that, because a lot of clients or type 1 men, they're like, well, what about testosterone? When does it drop? Why does it drop? How does it drop? What makes it drop? How do I fix it? And I was like, ooh, Ken's, you have so many talents, but the best way to increase testosterone is lifting weights. And also mindset and so forth. And something we're both doing, and sorry, I know I have the mic here for a little too long, but is in both of our practices, in both of our businesses, we're talking about systems. Yeah. And type 1's not just a pancreas thing, it's a system thing. And we got to look at the whole body, whole health, whole everything, including mindset, even if we're talking about low sex drive. Yeah. Or high sex drive.
Or high sex drive, yeah. Yeah.
What have you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's do this, Kelly. I want to do two things first before we dive into this. Okay. First, why don't you give the listeners just a small background of you? Because some of the listeners that might be listening either on the live or on the recording might not know who you are, or it's been a while since they've listened to an episode on this show with you. So just give us that background, and then I'll kind of segment it into the first part I want to talk about here.
Yeah. I think before I describe who I am, I'll just say medical disclaimer. Don't take this for medical advice, and I'm not your dietitian or doctor or dictating your insulin doses. So don't do your thing and don't sue us.
Yeah.
So there's that. But I am Kelly Schmidt. I am Ken's best diet buddy.
Yes, she's not lying here, people. I have two. I have two in Columbus, and she is one of them. She is
Yeah.
100% one of them. Yes. So she is my best diet buddy. She calls me when she's having a bad day. I call her when I'm having a bad day. And you need those type of people in your life with
Yeah.
diabetes.
Yeah. And when I have so much blood in my Omnipod, who do I call? Ken. I call Ken because he gets it. But professionally, I'm diabetic dietitian. I'm Kelly Schmidt. I've been a dietitian since 2007. I've been in private practice under my own business, T1D Functional Nutrition, since 2012. And I love helping adults with functional medicine, with type 1 diabetes and nutrition to help the whole body for not just a life with type 1, but a high quality life. And yeah, I love coaching. I love strength coaching. I love yoga. I have 2 kids. I live in Columbus, Ohio. And I think that's about it. Any questions or things you think people should
No,
know?
I want to put this out there though, just to set the stage even more of how
Okay.
much of an expert Kelly is. Okay. So me and
Oof.
Kelly work closely with, some of our clients, right?
Yeah.
She's working with a couple of my fitness clients and the really cool thing about Kelly, everybody, is that she doesn't look at the body at one specific thing, right? She's running labs for people, she's doing all of these things. She has this wide lens of what's going on, and she's attacking everything at once. Oh, it could be this. Oh, it could be this. Let's try to work on this. Let's look at this. I have been so enthralled with having conversations with the people that she's working with on my behalf, that I'm also working with on a fitness perspective, and what levers she's pulling on to try to uncover lifelong problems, things that have been going on for so long. So, Kelly, I just wanted to put that plug because I
Oh,
really appreciate the due diligence that you are putting with not just my clients, but everybody that you're working with.
well, thank you. And right back at you. If I recommend anyone to Ken, I know they are in great hands. So
Yeah.
as everyone's listening, Ken is the man.
Matt's doing a good job. Matt Cahill's doing great.
Oh, yay!
Yes.
Yay!
Yeah. He's doing
Anywho,
awesome. Yeah.
awesome. But yeah, so that's who I am. You just gave me a wonderful plug, so thanks for that glowing review.
Yes.
And yeah, where are you going to take us next?
Yeah. So I think the first place to start here, Kel, is testosterone.
Yeah.
And I think that the first thing that we should do is kind of define for the men that are listening and even the women, like what is actually testosterone, right? Because we're hearing all these things on the news, we're hearing all these things in the radio and all these ads, or, come to this clinic and check if you have low T.
Yeah.
And for guys, it's really, really important because if your levels are not in the right spot, like it can do a lot of harm, maybe that we don't even really recognize. So I think that's the first place that I would love to start with you is like, can you just kind of, in your definition and how you look at testosterone and how it works within the male system and even the female system, but what is testosterone?
Sure. And the more I learn, so women's health, I feel very confident, very versed, and I see this void. And not enough men with type 1 diabetes are getting the right information on low testosterone.
Yeah.
So I would say my research, my learning is newer in male health, and I'm eager to share all I've come across so far. My experience is young, but to say the least, testosterone is a hormone that's produced by the testes in a male. And it's present in females as well, but just at much higher levels than a male, than a male versus female. And I think what's important to mention as I'm talking about testosterone and a male physiology versus a female is men have a 24-hour rhythm. You have a 24-hour cycle over a day, and your hormones ebb and flow in a 24-hour spectrum. Females, we got 28 days. It makes it a little trickier, but here nor there, it's important to know the differences, how those differences influence insulin needs, and how to recognize if things are off. I was talking to a type 1 OBG this week, and she was telling me how even when people have low testosterone, and everyone keeps thinking I'm drawing on the obvious, people might be thinking, oh, low sex drive. I got low sex drive. I must have low T. But she noted that 40% of people who even take supplemental testosterone does not improve their sex drive. Usually sex drive is low from inflammation or stress. So as I'm describing these hormones, it's so important we have systems that we have systems and foundations in place to support our overall body. But back to testosterone, it gives us our drive, male or female. It supports our energy levels. It helps build muscle mass on your body, and your muscle mass is a metabolic organ. It's so important, insulin sensitivity and more. It can support inflammation. I already alluded to insulin sensitivity and more. And the highest levels in a male of testosterone is late teens to early 20s. So that's where it peaks. And then each year following, it will drop 1%. Now, here's the aha. The aha is those of us with type 1 diabetes usually are at increased risk of lower testosterone and sex hormones overall. You know, we got some wild risk going on, but it's good to know about them so we can do things about them and live a great high quality life.
Yeah. I think that when I've always thought about testosterone, it always for me came back to the energy piece. Like, what does my energy levels look like?
Yeah.
And even in the times of type 1 diabetes, I mean, we can go back, a year and a half ago. Like, I was like, my energy was plummeting. Like, I just was so stressed out about it, all the things that were going on in my life. And I like got it tested. I was like, for sure. I was like, for sure that I had low T. And then, but all my numbers came back normal. I prioritized sleep more. And oh my God, I felt way better. So it's like,
yes,
this is the crazy thing when we think about testosterone or we think about low energy, I guess, more than just testosterone. It's like, I always like the concept of what are the levers that we can pull in the system of what you're talking about, right? So what levers are easier to pull on than others? And that's why I love, our partnership, because the supplementation piece is a lever that can be pulled fairly easily with the right guidance. And we don't really know about that, right? We don't know about that, the power of supplementation and being able to supplement either hormonal displacement or things that aren't working the right way, especially in us type 1s, like testosterone or like insulin resistance and insulin sensitivity, whatever it might be.
Yeah. I think obviously the number one lever is something that helps us all feel good, and that's stabilizing blood sugars as best as you can. And not striving for perfection. I think if we strive for perfection, we'll burn our wick at both ends. And sorry, I was looking down, I was taking a little insulin. I've been running low today, so I didn't cover my snack there.
It wouldn't be a diabetes show if we don't have a blood sugar thing going on, either good or bad.
And I'm not being rude, I'm just bolusing insulin. But there's a lot I want to say, and I shared in my masterclass today too. So I had this client, and he just had such low energy. His nutrition was spot on. Blood sugars were stable. Lifestyle was really good. Sleep was maybe a B minus, C plus. And his doctor tested him for Lyme disease because he was so tired. They never looked at testosterone first. Like fatigue and brain fog can be so immense with low testosterone. And then I also want to talk about ranges. So I like to get any certifications or trainings or education I can in functional medicine. And just like vitamin D is a common lab we're all informed of. And vitamin D's conventional range is 30 to 100. That's really wide. And also with testosterone, it's quite a wide conventional range. And where someone feels their best really depends male or female. So when we have lab data, it's just as important to have symptom data, looking at trends and tracking and looking for breadcrumbs or consistency of things happening to go to a conversation, go to your doctor with a stronger conversation. But things that can really support testosterone is, and you nailed it, and that is optimizing sleep. And then when our lives are disrupted, or maybe we're taking care of sick parents and our own children, we're this sandwich generation. That's something I'm kind of experiencing here now. And it's something I can't really explain or predict ever in my life, or the toughness. But there can be some big stressors in our life, and stress will rock the boat on sleep, but we can do all we can to protect that and protect resilience. So when we say protect your sleep, it's definitely optimize your bedtime, your wake up time, and then bells and whistles to help with the quality of sleep. That might be monitoring your HRV. That's your heart rate variability, maybe with one of those rings. It can be even wearing your Apple Watch and monitoring that, but it's also a really dark room, a cold room, 67 degrees or under. It's maybe having an eye mask, maybe having earplugs, white noise of some sort. So like set up your bedroom so you can get quality good sleep. And of course, I'm going to mention magnesium. I love magnesium before bed for not only most Americans, but most, if not all type 1s, unless there's a unique situation, because when our blood sugars move, we burn through magnesium more. And when we are not in deficiency of magnesium, sleep can be optimized, quality can be deeper and more. So sleep is so important. And with sleep, it's even like, reverse engineering that. Let's talk about better blood sugars while we sleep. So optimizing blood sugars while we sleep can optimize the quality of our sleep. When I go a little high at night, I get hot, I wake up. So again, prioritizing stable blood sugars can go a long way for testosterone, but overall health, duh. But progress over perfection. And then I want to get to what we eat is as important as when we eat. So eating right before bed, your body's going to work on digestion. It's not going to be working on healing and sleeping. So if you're eating late often, eat light or bump it earlier where you can. So think what you eat and then, when you eat, but also what you eat. Get the quality, get the color, get the fiber, get the nutrients, eat more whole real food than not, and eat things you enjoy. So fiber, protein, phytonutrients, thinking a colorful diet, sleep, and stress management. Not enough, all of us want to hack our health. We want to focus on these routines, but at the end of the day, figure out how the heck to have fun. I'll ask clients and they'll start crying because they don't remember what they do for fun. And that is the number one thing we can do for our hormones is relax, chill, laugh, have fun, and then make better decisions where you can on those other things. So those are big levers to lay out before trying to optimize, external hormone replacement, if that's what someone needs, but try to see what you can do with lifestyle first. And I would hate to omit saying optimizing the liver. The liver metabolizes all of our sex hormones, male or female, and supporting the liver fully there. Hydrate, electrolytes, routines, bowel movements, make sure they're daily, not weekly. What might be known as normal is not optimal and so forth. But yeah, I think as I kind of scan my mind, those are the things that come up first.
And you just put out a lot of levers to pull on, which is good. There are a lot of levers to pull on. I want to kind of step back to a couple of them that I heard. The first one that comes to mind, and I've told clients in the past that they need to increase their magnesium as well.
Yeah.
I want to just confirm, in case people are wondering, the people that do supplement with magnesium, it's for sleep, it's glycinate, not citrate, correct?
Yeah. We don't want to put people in the toilet. So citrate helps with constipation. So glycinate's my favorite. And honestly, I get no benefit out of this, but pure encapsulation, magnesium glycinate, hands down, whoever I give it to, they're like, this is remarkably better than another glycinate they're taking. So not to name drop, but it's worthy there because it's just profound. And that's the one I religiously use too.
And everybody, we will put Kelly's link to her supplement line in the show notes so you guys can look up some of these things that we're talking about after the recording. So we'll make sure that stuff is in the show notes. The other thing that I want to kind of dive deeper into, because you mentioned it multiple times, is sleep.
Yeah.
I know sleep is a huge lever, and it's an underestimated, underutilized tool of a lever that pull on. Yeah. I am very curious. I'll share mine too, but I'm very curious what your sleep hygiene is for getting ready for bed. Like what do you do every night to lead yourself up to I'm in bed, I'm throwing the covers over, I got to close my eyes and I'm ready to rock and roll. Let's go.
Yeah. Now, what I'm going to be real. I'm going to tell everyone what I do, but it's probably not always, it's not the most optimal, but it's what I'm doing in this season of my life with two kids, running a business and so forth. Number one thing I'm doing is I don't teach early classes anymore. I do a lot less of that. And just in perimenopause, I'm 42 years old. My cortisol is just more sensitive. My hormones are fluctuating, and I am protecting that in that way. So I'm zooming out and identifying how can I support my sleep as best as possible. And I used to teach a lot really early, but if I had a horrible night of sleep from my kids, my blood sugars, my alarms or whatever, no matter what, I still had to get up. So I'm just protecting that. So that's a big change in the last 2 years that I'm just right now, this decade, I'm just going to chill out on consistently teaching too early in the morning. But I do still work out in the morning because if I get good sleep, I'll show up and go do it. But here nor there, my routine. So I shower at night, just like the Japanese. You go to bed clean.
Yeah, I like this. Yeah.
So I shower before bed. So I'm nice and hot. And then obviously I'm getting in bed and my temperature is dropping pretty quickly. That can be helpful for quality of sleep. No doubt. And I could make the shower ice cold to take it a step further. But again, protecting my cortisol. Don't need that. Don't need that right now. So I shower. I do my thing with my contacts, toothbrush. And so I'm on a really interesting insulin regimen. I don't even know if you know my latest, Ken, but I take Tresiba every morning and I wear an Omnipod. I shouldn't even be like making this public. So
yeah. Hold on. Why can't you say that publicly? That is a tool that you're using. That's a tool that you're using.
Totally. But I'm like the only type 1 in the world doing it this way. No endocrinologist likes it.
That makes you unique, Kelly.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's for the season of my life. And again, as you know, I have a lot of absorption issues with all of my sites, no matter what I'm using. So nonetheless, at night, I dial up my Tresiba because in the morning, if I'm getting up so early, sometimes I forget if I took it or not. So my strategy is every night I dial up what my basal is and it's on my counter. And I just recently, I went to a workout. I came home and I was like, oh my gosh, my syringe is still there and it's still dialed up to 9. And I was like, I didn't take it. I was like, did I take it? But that is my system to make sure I take that insulin. So I just think that's important for anyone else on MDIs. That's what I'm doing to make sure I take it and remember to take it and whatnot. So I dial up my basal and then I get in bed. I usually have a book. I'm reading a good book right now, but I'm also, getting organized for the next day. I'm checking all my text messages that I missed, and you can schedule text messages. So I'm quickly replying to those, scheduling them for 9 a.m. tomorrow or later. I'm looking at the workout that I might be teaching the next day or wanting to do, and then putting any big thoughts or to-dos on my calendar and then locking it down. I put my phone in airplane mode every night. And I make sure my Wi-Fi still, or not my Wi-Fi, my Bluetooth still on, so my CGM speaks to me. So I always look at that if needed. And then I take my magnesium. I take something called Charlotte Webb's CBD, and it has L-theanine in it and a low dose melatonin. So Charlotte Webb's has CBD in it, and that helps create homeostasis in the body, helps with inflammation. But that's been one of my best little supplements lately for sleep. So I'm taking magnesium, I'm taking that, and then I'm taking a motility gut product called Motil Pro. I love that. I have slow motility because of a head injury to my vagus nerve. And I figured that out through testing from a traumatic event. So I take Motil Pro, magnesium, and I take CBD, Charlotte's Web. And then I'll doctor other things in there depending on what's going on in my life. Taking vitamins before bed is a big pillar for me. It's the most consistent time I'm taking vitamins. And if it's something that doesn't need food, that's where I'm taking it. And then I try to lights out by 10, and I'm either up at 5:17 or 7:03. So it depends if I'm doing the workout or not. So those are the times I wake up. It's totally weird, but yeah.
So interesting. Like it's
so many questions.
I mean, no, not so many questions. It's just it's interesting to hear other people's sleep hygiene and what they consistently do, right? So like my sleep hygiene, I know exactly what I should do. I don't always do it, right? So just like, it like you said, we're all being real here, right? And I feel like for me, I have really had to put boundaries, and it's so hard for me to do this, but I have really had to put boundaries of everything's off. I'm not on my phone. I'm not on my computer's not open by like 7:30, 8 o'clock at the latest. And that is because that's been so hard for me to do. Like, it's like I was trying to run business. I got to get this done. I got to get this email. I got to do this. I got to do this. And then as soon as I actually sit down and eat, like I'm ready to go. I'm done. My eyes starting to shut, like my energy's starting to plummet, like as soon as I sit down to eat and I start eating. So I have really had to force myself to, as soon as I'm done eating, like I'm not opening that computer back up. I'm not getting back on the phone and getting on social media and sending messages or whatever it is. Go.
I didn't lay that out. And it's so important as a business owner, and even recently I was doing some work at night, a consistent call on Mondays. And I was like, why am I doing this? Because it was rocking my sleep. Because when I'm presenting, I'm so turned on and then I don't sleep for hours. And I think that is a huge realization. Owning a business or whatnot, or working as an adult, I can't touch my computer after 6. I just can't, because then the wheels get turning and brewing way too fast. And social media too. I have a curfew with that. I try to compartmentalize when I'm on there, how much and when.
Do you feel like this is more of a personal question for all of us who have kids as well? running a business, being turned on so late, do you feel or have you felt like that you are missing out or not like present in kids and being mom in the evening? Because I know I have, and that was one of the decisions, that was part of my decision of saying like, hey, this has got to be shut down at this
Yeah.
time, because I have felt that
Yeah.
like I'm not present with my wife, I'm not present with the kids, like I want to just relax with them and just be feeling like, oh my god, like having so much anxiety because my computer's not open, because I'm not working on something. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. And I think we're probably similar. I'm a workaholic for sure.
Hmm.
And I nearly care about my clients as much as my kids. And if they
Hmm.
need something, like I want to help them, like,
Yes.
but in the 12 years I've been in practices, I've identified boundaries and I will no longer, unless it's a speaking opportunity, like work on weekends.
Hmm.
And I do the best I can not to do live calls, and clients might not like this, but I don't take a client call after 3 or 4 p.m.
Mm.
because my kids will trickle home. Also, they're into sports, so there's a handful of spinning plates to optimize there.
Yep.
But these are the years, my son's just in middle school, and there's some statistic, I don't have it accurate, but it's like parents being present are far more important right now in these vulnerable years than even they're
Mm.
younger. So I do work untraditional hours. Yeah, it's hard, but it's boundaries. It's boundaries and identifying, like, my number one goal in life is to live my purpose, but my number one goal in my life is to raise good humans, and
Hmm.
that's my kids. So if I always know what that priority is, I'm better at instilling boundaries, which boundaries are vulnerable, and we need to vocalize them. But it's hard. It is hard.
Hmm.
Um, and two, I hope to be a good model for them, working hard, but also recognizing, and I'll voice it, like, I am working too much. I want to spend more time with you. I said it a lot last year, and I'm making a big difference this year. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's hard to do both.
Yeah, it is. It's in, and not just for those of us who run businesses, but it's hard to. I can't imagine the mom or even the dad that gets up in the morning, sends their kids off to school, goes and works till 3, 4, 5 o'clock, come home. Now they're on dad mom duty, making dinner, going to activities, like finally getting them to bed at like 8, 9 o'clock, and then now that's your only time to yourself. But then you have to put boundaries in yourself and get sleep. So it's like
Yeah.
the revolving door of this thought process of like trying to put boundaries up around putting yourself first.
Yeah, yeah. And I think too, I love this topic. As you know, in my practice, I use the GRACE method. It's 5
Yeah.
pillars to optimize your overall well-being, and it's great. It's gut, routines, adrenals, clean living, and exercise. But what we're getting at is like my favorite topic, and we're talking about
Hmm.
routines. And I
Yeah.
think we don't want Groundhog's Day. We don't want every day to be the same. We don't want every morning routine to be the same, but we need a routine that helps optimize whatever goal we're working on. But another thing, I don't know if it's worthy of even sharing, but here we are, we're connecting here on Friday. But I do my best to also, it's like Kelly doesn't take clients, but I do my best not to take clients on Friday because it's my
Yeah.
spillover day.
Yeah.
So no matter what, I always have spillover, but it also allows for awesome, spontaneous things such as this. But I'm saying this to hopefully inspire others, if you have any control over your routines, to like identify days to create space.
Hmm.
So you have that time to yourself or catch up so you can have the time with priorities of what you want.
Hmm.
But I love talking routines. I'm obsessed actually with the
Yeah.
mastery of like habit stacking and so forth. And yeah.
Yeah. I think the really interesting with routines is like, and I have fallen victim to this too. I think the biggest thing with routines is we make excuses on, I don't have enough time. When
Yeah.
in reality, when you actually break down your schedule, you have time. You just have to
Hmm.
prioritize that time.
Yeah.
And for me, that's been a big like shift in me personally, but also how I like communicate and talk to my clients, because everyone's got that excuse on, hey, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for this, I got to take my kids here. And I want everyone to understand and know, just like Kelly said, is like the importance of putting yourself first is vital, especially living with a chronic condition like type 1 diabetes. If you don't have a plan, if you don't build routines into your day, and those routines sometimes are going to fall off the rails. Like, I mean, Kelly, I'm sure you can speak to that for sure. Like, you have these checklists, you have these routines in place, but you can't always follow them to the T. So then what is the plan B?
Yeah.
And so like that's what I always think about when I think about routines. It's like, one, you got to put yourself first. You got to make it a priority. but two, also can't be something where it's like, oh my God, it's so challenging to do this. You need to readjust your routine then.
Yeah, 100%. And the goal is to build these habits to find your new norm, and you're not following lists and so forth. There's two things I'm thinking of, and I try to remind myself a lot is with type 1 diabetes, I try to be efficient because type 1 takes time. Type 1 takes space. So when I'm doing things that let it be meal planning or just grocery shopping or so forth, I'm like, how can I execute this faster? I'm always thinking, how could that be done better? And when I want to lounge in a grocery store, which I like doing sometimes and looking at new foods, I do, but like, how can I execute quicker? So I'm always thinking of efficiency. But the example I want to give here is I was driving my daughter to a soccer tournament. It was like 2 years ago. And when you get in your car and you put into the destination, it'll tell you an hour and 27 minutes or something to wherever you're going. And I drove like a maniac to get her there because I left late. And at the end of the day, I was a maniac. I saved 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's the thing in life. Like when we're hurried and rushing, let it be driving, carpool, or even just like dishes or showering or whatever. Like when we are rushing like a maniac and stressed out, like what are you going to save? 30 seconds? So just do things one at a time and do them well.
That's a great point. It is a great point.
Yeah. And then secondly, I had mentioned and alluded to, and you know this, that my dad's health is not stable. And it's been an interesting year or years, and it's just been a little more raw and upfront. And I'm like consistently thinking, like, what is the point of life? Like, is this worth stressing over? And just being really present, like the purpose of life, it helps slow things down and prioritize and values surface overall.
Yeah.
So not to go deep there. But
no, it's so funny because we could take a whole nother pivot and talk like deep in terms of, in terms of like having type 1 diabetes, trying to prioritize yourself, but then also having a loved one that's having a very hard time in that person's health, and how do you manage all of that stress? Like we could go down that rabbit hole too. I mean, there's so many rabbit holes me and Kelly could go down, guys.
Yeah. Or come back to testosterone.
So, but I do want to come back to the male hormone stuff.
Yeah.
We had talked a little bit about intimacy. I think this is something that a lot of people maybe don't necessarily think is an issue, or maybe they do and they don't know how to talk about it.
Yeah.
I think this is an important part of the conversation when we talk about male hormones, but not just male hormones, but even female hormones, like understanding that process of it's okay. Like if you're someone that has to like prepare for that, then figure that piece out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm open to share too. Like I'm 42 and I share this a lot more on like women's health topics, but at age 38, I went on hormone replacement therapy at age 38. And I was even questioned at age 40, like I was on progesterone. My sleep went sideways. My basal rates went up, and not a lot of my other habits fell. If not, they were optimized. So I found progesterone was so life-saving for me, 38, 39. And then at 40, I went on estrogen. Again, I tracked my symptoms, had educated conversations with my OB. And perimenopause is not diagnosed with a lab. It's diagnosed with symptoms, but I do have a Dutch test as a functional lab test that looks at hormone metabolites. So I did that on myself and saw just how low and flat my levels were. So I brought it to her. So I've been on HRT at a young age for perimenopause. Perimenopause starts at age 35, but people are not going on hormones until in their 40s. But it's all about being in touch with your body, knowing what feels off, tracking those symptoms, and then asking bold questions. So if we're going to flip this to a male-female conversation, it's just doing the same, but also know in perimenopause for females, we're at risk of earlier menopause. Men are at risk of lower testosterone, and females too, as well. And testosterone is not as much supplemented with women than men. But again, men, you matter. And as you go in and ask those questions and so forth, make sure you're also evaluating the bigger picture. Look outside of the frame and how's your sleep? How's your stress? How's your movement? How's your nutrition? How's your blood sugar control? And you could peel everything like an onion and ask for hormones if your testosterone is indeed really low, and work on all the things, or set the foundation first and then get the hormones. And it's similar even to like, I mean, we can take another jump, but even the use of microdosing GLP-1s in type 1 diabetes and in later life. A GLP-1 is used in perimenopause, almost like automatically for women who are in need. And with type 1 diabetes, it's a double whammy. So Yeah, where are we going next in this conversation? No. But
I
what
mean,
more
you
can we
brought up this
say?
other topic that is incredible to talk about.
Yes. But what's more to say, do you think, as a male would be helpful to know overall? And
Yeah,
even let's jump into like strength train. And
yeah.
strength train doesn't mean crazy cleans every day, but
Mhm.
basics.
Yeah, I before I go into strength training, I'll have a follow-up to what you're
Yeah.
talking about. Is there, because you mentioned going to the doctor, whether it's for menopause symptoms or for low T or whatever, male or female, right? From someone that is very good at looking at labs and has a lot of people go through labs, is there specific things that someone should be asking their doctor when they are questioning low T, menopause, low estrogen, low energy, whatever it is? Because you said something that like just intrigued me, and it was how, I think it was when you were talking about menopause, they don't actually test for it. It's like they
Yes.
look at the symptoms, right?
Yeah.
And with guys, yeah, you have low energy, you're going to go get your testosterone checked. But I feel like it's more than just testosterone. It's more than just your estrogen. It's more than that. It's like you also brought into the conversation of like good nutrition, good sleep. So
Yeah.
putting the whole holistic piece together of all the things that we should be doing as human beings, even though
Yeah.
I'm getting tested for perimenopause, or I'm going to the doctor with these symptoms, even though I'm getting tested for low T, and I either have it or I don't. Are there other things that we should be paying attention to
Ooh, I
that
like this
could be
question.
looked into through labs? I mean, obviously, I'm looking at my lab results. I'm like, "Where's Kelly? I don't
Yes.
understand what this says." But are there things that maybe we can ask questions of the doctor, like as we get these results? Like,
Yeah.
I'm very curious about that.
Yeah. You're going to get me fired up because if you are questioning about your low testosterone symptoms, definitely ask for testosterone, but you also want free. You want total and free testosterone,
Yeah, okay, cool.
but you want to zoom out. You want a full panel. And ironic enough, this is the first time I'm mentioning this, but I do have panels you can just buy publicly and have it interpreted by me from a type 1 diabetic lens. And on this panel, I want to know your full thyroid panel, not just the TSH. I get real passionate about that because symptoms of low thyroid look a lot like symptoms of low sex hormones. They look identical. So while you're measuring one, you need to look at both. Testosterone is good to get a lab done, even in females. So the reason that getting labs in perimenopause as a female doesn't help diagnose perimenopause is because our hormones are like a toothpaste tube. Like there's a lot of hormones coming out and in one instance and there's like none. And that's why we have these emotional waves going on. And it's just not very realistic to identify that static moment of really what my state of perimenopause is overall. So going back to what labs are important, it would be full thyroid panel. It would be full lipid panel. It would be B12, folate, iron, ferritin. So low iron can also show low energy and so much more. And my biggest peeve is when someone has low iron and they just are told to take an iron supplement, when really there's a whole digestion thing to evaluate to see why someone has low iron, especially if they're eating iron rich foods. But overall, it's important to have a panel. So vitamin D, B12, folate, lipid, thyroid, CBC, CMP. Homocysteine is very helpful as well, and that's a marker of cardiovascular risk. That's one of my favorite. And last but not least, that I'll mention top of mind is CRP, high sensitivity CRP. That's a marker of inflammation. So if someone's inflammation is really high, it's let's go inflammation hunting. Why is it really high? And if your inflammation is really high, your sex hormones are going to be imbalanced, likely low, and insulin resistance is going to be up. I think as you're trying to optimize your health, it is so helpful to have a full panel on testosterone, but also these other individual things to know if it's a nutrient deficiency, if it's a vitamin deficiency, if there's inflammation markers, and again, the whole iron front too.
I love it.
Yeah.
Because you brought up free testosterone,
Yeah.
and I don't think that people understand the difference between
So
the
I'm taking
different.
more insulin.
Nice.
My baby dose didn't do enough.
I think that people don't. I know I didn't when I got it done 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. I didn't know the difference between the different types of testosterone that show up on the lab report.
Yeah. And when is it, how many times have you had testosterone tested?
Just
Very
once.
many.
Just
And
once,
they did
yeah.
both.
Yeah. They did a
That's
full
good.
panel on it, yeah.
That's good. Because sometimes it'll just be total, and
Mm.
total just doesn't tell the whole story, what's intracellular. So it's good to have both just to really understand what's falling within a conventional range versus how you're feeling and what both numbers are and how they trend and relate
What's the
overall.
difference between the two of them?
That's
Total
a good
versus
question.
free?
Free is when it's extracellular, and free overall in the body versus what's bound.
That makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because when I had mine done a year and a half ago, I think it was a year and a half ago, maybe it was 2 years ago. I'm looking at the report and I'm like, I'm not an idiot. I know what some of this stuff is, and I literally had to put all of the results in Chat GPT. Is like, hey, break this down for me. I don't know what this is. When should have just called Kelly, people. That's all I should have done is just called Kelly.
I mean, well, first off, if you're ever using ChatGPT for health, let me tell everyone, when you're going into Safari or whatever, like Google
Yeah.
search you're going, and you can go into incognito mode.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to use ChatGPT with any of your health records, you need to go into incognito mode.
That's a good point.
So like Chatty doesn't get all your goods.
Yep. That's a
So
really
a
good point.
life hack there. But everybody is using chat for their health. And I even help my clients use chat better, including that tip.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just that, as you mentioned that, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I just learned this maybe a year ago, but it's important to know because you don't want any records saved anywhere.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really good thoughts.
But I'm sure when you got your testosterone drawn, did you get a full lab workup?
Yeah,
That's
because I
good.
specifically asked for. I was like, I need. It was the time when I was supposed to get my labs drawn, and
Yeah.
I said to him, I said to my endo, I was like, okay, I want to do a testosterone test. I was like, I don't think there's a problem, but I just want to do one. He's like,
Yeah.
okay, cool, yeah, easy. And then I told him, I was like, I want a full panel done with testosterone and a full lab workup, and he's like, done, cool. And he, I mean, it was literally like, I mean, God, it had to have been like 20 pages long.
Oh, good.
It was a lot. There was a lot of information.
Yeah, and depending who or where our endos work, there's like criteria of what they're allowed or frowned upon in doing. And a lot of times they're like, give me the thyroid panel. And they're like, in our institution, we only do TSH and T4. And it's like, that's only like, I want to know the full picture and so forth. And also, like, I'll advocate for vitamin D, and they're like, "Oh, we did that this year," and I'm like, "Right, it's a different season." Or I did that 2 years ago. I've gotten that, and I'm like, "Okay."
But and this is actually a good segment because I really want to ask you this question for someone that like does labs. To me, like when I go and get my lab work done every year, it's like a waste of my time because I feel like it's a waste of my time because you talked about looking at trends earlier. And it's like if I'm looking at one trend every single year, one data point from one specific point in the year, like it's not going to tell me much of like what's going on per season and all these different things. Like I like talk to me about that.
Yeah.
Like is that a standard practice? Is that okay if we do it once a year? Should we do it every quarter? Should we do it every 6 months? Like what is the kind of your rule of thumb of looking at like maybe not a full lab panel, but something I've got some symptoms. I should go get this lab panel done for these specific symptoms.
Yeah.
Because for me, I just think once a year, it's just not enough information.
Agree. I think a full workup is extremely important once a year, even if you're flying high and feeling good. You just want that benchmark to know and to reflect back on, when something might go off and you can say, oh, when was it last good? You need the data. But let's say something is off slightly, that will suggest how often to get tested. And it depends what might need supported, and testing right away again wouldn't be optimal. Usually it's like work on this, and in 3 months we'll look at that lab value again. If that's thyroid antibodies, if that's vitamin D, if that's MCV, that's mean cellular volume. And that's usually really high when people are B12 or folate deficient. And it takes time to correct. So it just depends if things are off, how often to test and so forth overall.
Okay.
And there are like labs. So it's funny. Like I'm curious to even ask, like, what is the future of our businesses working with type 1 clients? And it is very visionary. And with my clients, I want to be as personalized as possible. And I am taking a much bolder stance to run labs on my clients versus, and I still want their endocrinologists in on the game. Like I want their endo to know their labs as well, in case, well, one, you always want them in on the conversation, but in case they need a prescription of some sort or other. But I am much more on getting my clients labs from me, evaluating it, and then taking the hour session to tell them a story from all of the data points. And I had a client is going to an integrative medicine practice. She got a full lab workup, and that's what we did this week on her call. And she's like, wow, like I feel heard, I feel understood. I understand now exactly what to work on and why. And along with that, we suggested different things for her nutrition and entirely shifted her supplements and included dropping some things. You know, a lot of us like taking supplements. And a lot of times people are taking a lot of stuff they don't need, or it's the opposite. People don't want to take anything, so they take nothing. And then it's like, well, let's fill nutrient gaps. We have an autoimmune disease. It can really help. But yeah, I think labs are the future. And I think getting them ourselves is also the future. And there's a lot of services. There's a lot of businesses right now where we could buy them from everywhere. Let it be function membership. You know, there's 100 lab membership. And that's a bit, it's good, but it's a bit overwhelming. But I think just a very type 1 targeted lab panel is perfect. And obviously that's what I'm now producing and making available to the public. Labs are so important for us to know exactly, like, why should I keep buying vitamin D? Should I be taking 2,000 units or 5,000? How about my magnesium? I have some clients that need four magnesium pills before bed. I have some that need one. And, you know, you can feel like sense, oh, am I groggy the next morning? Am I taking too much? But labs tell a story. And then having someone be able to tell you the story is immenseful, but also learning from ChatGPT or with a coach or whatnot is also really helpful.
Yeah. I think that I have been thinking a lot about like AI and like what AI is going to do, what it can't do.
Yeah.
I personally, regardless of if AI can take my job or not, I don't think it can, but
I don't think so.
regardless if it could or not, there's one thing that AI will never be able to do, and that's to replace the human connection.
Oh, for sure.
And I think that one thing that you have the capacity or have the ability to do because of being private practice, because of the way you're setting up your practice, is you have the time to sit down and actually educate the patient, educate the client. Where unfortunately endocrinologists, doctors, they don't have the time to do that. Or maybe they don't even have the skill set to do that. And I think that connection point is so important, right? So it's like you are so in depth with the labs, and which is amazing. And like for me, like I like the connection with that individual, right? If I'm working with Kelly, which I have before, like I love the connection piece and being able to ask questions and like getting the information and then being to interpret the information and being able to take that information and roll with it. And then having not just rolled with it now, but now I don't have to wait 3 or 4 months to give her feedback back on what's going on and have her give me feedback, right? Because I'm on another call the next week or in 2 weeks or whatever it is. The follow-up is there, right? So for me, the connective piece of the human to human connection is so powerful.
Yeah, definitely. And on the front of AI too, I think it's worth mentioning, like, it's just like cortisol. Everyone's like, oh, cortisol is bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's actually anti-inflammatory. It's the reason we wake up every day. Like cortisol is actually very important and it's a good thing to have enough of. But with AI, I think as well, it's like, it's a little like eerie, scary. It's obviously we're all using it, but I'm excited that AI is going to help me help more people at a better price point. Like it's going to allow my services to come down because I can help more people more quickly. I don't know. So that's just like, I think something important to recognize. And, you know, I've done a lot of courses and actually went to a conference on AI and like how to utilize it better and how it is a part of our future, no matter how much we like it or not. But the cost of living is going to go down because of it. And a lot of jobs are being taken. That's not okay. But we're going to find new jobs that never existed as well. You know, like I heard the analogy, like, you know, when people were using typewriters, we had people that were typing all the time. And they worried that once we got like computers, that those typing jobs were going to just put people at such a loss. But there's these new jobs like social media marketing person. Like who 50 years ago thought there was a social media marketer? And so forth. So like there is a lot of fear, there is worry, but there's a lot of amazing things that are really going to help us help people better, make things more affordable, and also way quicker and more impactful.
Yeah.
as well.
The opportunity is definitely there for all of
Yeah.
us, not just us who run businesses. Like for me, it completely optimizes the time that I have to spend on even just creating something, because
Yeah.
I can ask questions, I can dive into things that I wasn't thinking about. I don't necessarily have to ask Kelly about a supplement that I want to take.
I did notice fewer texts lately. No, I'm kidding.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity in it, and it's gonna be interesting to watch that unfold.
Yeah.
Before we end, I want to just go back to the male hormone piece,
Yeah.
because there's one specific thing that I know I have dealt with when it comes to male hormones, testosterone, and even intimacy, and that's low blood sugar
Yeah.
during, before, after that process. And I want everyone to, all the guys that are listening to this that are probably dealing with that, it's okay. Like,
Yeah.
don't let it get you down. For
Yeah.
me, when it happens, and it happens rarely, because I'm trying to be proactive about it, because I'm always trying to keep my blood sugar in a specific target range, or at a specific target. And I think that it's important for all of us to understand that it is okay, and that communication is the number one key to it being okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thank you for saying that. I think being vulnerable helps so many people, and just like, again, helps us feel seen and heard. And granted, I'm not a male, but I'm a female. And I will even say, on the flip side, when blood sugars are more erratic and it just gets you sassy, not in a good way, it's like, I'm not in the mood. Like, and I see you guys, I see myself, and it's like, gosh, like, this is just so frustrating. Like,
Yeah.
but I think it's okay as well to share that side of the coin.
Yeah.
Side of the coin too. It's so top of mind. I don't want to forget to say this. Another hormone that's important for all of us to measure is DHEA, as well. So that's important, along with
What does
testosterone.
DEHA stand for?
DEH. Oh my gosh. Now I can't even say it. DHEA.
Yeah.
DHEA is produced by the adrenals, but it's a euthanizing hormone, and it can be a precursor to other sex hormones. But it's important to monitor because it goes down with age, with stress, just like testosterone. And something else I wrote down, I wanted to make sure I mentioned on this call. It's a little bit of jumping around here, but with type 1 diabetes, I've had type 1 for 34 years. The last 5 years and on, I have been recommended to take statins just because I've had type 1 for so long. And I think it's very individualized whether or not we take statins, and data is power. So not just the lipid panel, but homocysteine, APOA, and APOB, and also get a CAC scan. That can be another conversation we have a live on. But statins can lower cholesterol. If cholesterol is too low, I have a client, she has high cardiovascular risk, and her endo just wants to push her cholesterol lower. But if it's a below 150, we're at risk of depression. And besides that, cholesterol is a precursor to sex hormones. And if we don't have enough cholesterol, we're not going to be feeling very good. We're not going to have the sex hormones. So there's medications that can decrease sex hormones, including statins, including hydrocortisone, including opioid use, and more. To kind of zoom out.
What about
to mention
cortisol?
that.
What about cortisol in that whole process?
So cortisol is similar. Like, it could be good to get a lab on it, but cortisol is better understood when you're doing like a saliva cortisol test. I call it a CAR, cortisol awakening response. So it's collecting saliva right when you wake up, half hour later, hour later. So you're trying to understand your rhythm and throughout the day. So it's a saliva test throughout the day. It can also be urine. And no doctor, like, I'll be like, hey, ask your doctor to monitor your adrenal or adrenal insufficiency symptoms you have. And they'll be like, my doctor is not testing my cholesterol. And I'm like, well, it's a saliva. It's more of a functional lab.
Yeah.
But to test cortisol, what they'll look for is just disease, if it's severely too high or severely too low, mainly too low, but actually doing kind of a CGM-like test. That's a good comparison, I'll give it. Than just that one finger stick or blood draw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think cortisol is really interesting because it fluctuates so much, even day by day.
For sure.
Right? So I think that is the interesting piece, and it's like one of the things that's very hard to test because it's fluctuating every day. And like you said, you're taking a finger stick of cholesterol when you go to the doctor, and like literally it could be different the next day. So like I love that CGM data like analogy with it.
Yeah.
Does fluctuating cholesterol, does that affect sex hormones?
cortisol affect sex hormones or
Yes.
cholesterol? Cortisol. You just interchange. So
Sorry.
I also feel like I think it'd be awesome to do a conversation on this because I think cortisol is the most understood. And if we're trying to support our gut or even inflammation, we need to heal top down. We need to make sure we have the right mindset. We need to see how that cortisol is behaving. And that's where I'm going to say, let's do a cortisol awakening response on you. And what it is, like cortisol fluctuates every single day, and it's a different level for the most part throughout the day. But you're looking for this standard pattern. I'm like making a line graph with my finger, and you're looking for that spike of cortisol in the morning. And if it's blunted, if it's too high, too low, there's a lot of things you can do routine wise and supplement wise to optimize that circadian rhythm in a nutshell. So I wouldn't say it's like erratic day after day after day. You're still trying to hit the same pattern every single day of your cortisol levels. Overall, but testing is so helpful, but also knowing, like we kind of know when we're burned out and then recognizing, okay, what can I do to support this burnout? What can I do to get better sleep? What can I do to eat better? What can I do to get better blood sugar? Like things we're already working on will support cortisol. But if you're just like, WTF, what is going on? My testosterone's good. You know, my full blood panel was decent. Cortisol is definitely where I'm looking. Or even if I can, you know, symptom wise, listen to someone. It's like, I can tell your cortisol's dysregulated, but I do want to do the test so I know how we can supplement you, because high cortisol in the morning versus low cortisol in the morning, you target very differently with different protocols.
Yeah.
And that's like a 3, 6, 8 month regimen, because you don't fix cortisol overnight and you don't break it overnight. Overall.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. I was just curious about like cortisol related to the sex hormones, and because I know we've talked about so many different things that affect the sex hormone, so yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have to bring you back on.
Cortisol's really high.
Yeah. I was just going to say, we'll definitely have to bring you back on and talk deep into cortisol for sure.
Yeah. Let's do that. I think it would be wonderful. And what people are hungry for, because it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Why'd Kelly say she doesn't do 6 a.m. workouts anymore? Right. What's this perimenopause connection? There's a ton. I would love it. Let's do that soon. I would love that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we will, as we're getting to the end here, guys, we're definitely going to have Kelly back on. Maybe just regularly. Maybe we're just going to do it. Maybe we'll just have her on regularly. Like Graham will come on with us and we'll just all have a good conversation, yeah, for sure. Kelly, this was great. Thank you so much for doing this. As always, your presence just sparks me so much. I just love it. I love when I get to talk to Kelly. If there's any like 1 to 3 things that you want to end the conversation with, or anything that you want to end the conversation with, what would that kind of be?
First, it's thanks for having me back. This is so fun. This is pure joy, and I hope people get a lot out of it. Second, very common, what you'll hear from me is give yourself grace, no matter where you're at. Don't compare our chapter 12 to your chapter 1 or whatever you're sensing or feeling, but give yourself grace. And then I think the last thing is like your body is your best doctor. Take a moment to slow down and listen to what it needs. This thing, I think, how I would end this recommendation.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
Slow down, people. Keep it simple, stupid. That's what.
Don't be maniac driving to a soccer tournament. It does no good.
See, just because Kelly's amazing, sometimes she acts like a maniac. Let's be honest. But we all act like maniacs sometimes, whatever it is, sometimes you just got to act like a maniac.
Yeah. Yeah.
So awesome. Thanks everybody. Thank you again, Kelly. And I will see everybody next time.